let's look at, okay, 21 people out of 65 said to a hospital in St. Paul, it's at 32.3%. On the other hand, we have to a hospital in Minneapolis. How many? What's the percentage? Take a close look. It's 66.2%. You know, almost twice. I mean, it's like 2-to-1 ratio among younger crowd choose to go to Minneapolis, right? So that gives you some idea of why young people are going to the Minneapolis. Or you can put another way, say why uh, only so out of why older people they don't go to that hospital. Why young people go to the hospital? And let's look at the older people. We know, but for example, the healthcare is right. The older you are, the more needs you have. Your body begins to feel different. I mean, I'm in my 50s. I began to see the impact. Like you have this kind of problem, that kind of problem. Especially you're after 55. Your body's like it's like running like you guys drive car. Like the old used car. Once a used car, 100,000 miles, and you have this kind of that kind of problem. And then you can look at the stuff. I mean, now look at the 55 and the 64, right? So, like look at let's say, okay, 25 people, 49.0% go to St. Paul, while only 45.1% goes to Minneapolis, right? So you can see that 55 to 64, you can begin to see a little bit difference, right? Older people tend to go to St. Paul, right? You can see the pattern, And then when you could become 65 or over, you can see the pattern even more clear, right? 57% choose to go to St. Paul, only 40% choose to go to the Minneapolis. Now, obviously, the 40% versus 57% is a big difference. Big difference. Okay. Now, I want you to see that like you can visually say, well, 57%, 40%, there's a difference, right? Difference. So you can kind of get a sense that as people get older, they choose to go to, they're more likely to go to St. Paul. Now, we know that older people have more needs, healthcare needs. They need they need to take care of their heart, their kidney, their all kind of because and then the hospital. Why would you? What kind of criteria do people look for when for older people, right? When they begin to choose, when they face the choices of one hospital or the other. Now, obviously, number one is that like doctors, right? Doctors, like experienced doctors. If you have like better doctors, you tend to want to go to that kind of hospital. Number two, obviously, is facility. Now, and obviously, number third, and probably customer service quality, right? That kind of stuff. So, as a management, need to find out what kind of things would influence people's choice of uh, going to one hospital or the other. So this is very important. So from this kind of cross tabulation, we begin to see the pattern. I mean, and then if you are a hospital management member of St. Paul, I mean, obviously you say, well, this is pretty good. But on the other hand, if you are in Minneapolis, you have to ask yourself, there is a gap between us versus them, right? So this is a competitor. This is a good example of competitive analysis, right? Find out what kind of crowd goes to one place versus other. And I'm sure that you guys kind of know that intuitively that one type of restaurant attracts one type of clients, the other type of restaurant attracts other type of clients. I mean, each different company has their own intended target market, so that's kind of stuff. So, but when we do research, we kind of have gather empirical evidence to validate our initial intuition or initial, kind of understanding, so that as we dig deeper into data, we begin to see how to use those insights gleaned from our research to inspire to our decision making. I mean, you potentially we can add other variables as well. Let's say income, like a young, not just the young versus old, but also the rich versus poor. Or we can add like ethnic groups, Latino, African American, white, and Asian. We have like big ethnic groups. So we can see that kind of pattern as we, and then that's actually, as a matter of fact, lots of big data analyticals companies they do that. At the most, that's what's there's no secret, there's no mystery about this big data analytics. Like remember that I told you about earlier that when I was a director of e-commerce back in early 2000s, and then I was actively involved in specifying a CRM company, because at the time that firm was interested in buying a CRM software. We have PeopleSoft, we have Oracle, and then and the salespeople come to our company at the time, and I was sitting in the room. They're doing a presentation. They're showing the bells and whistles. So that kind of you know. But they know that I have a PhD, so they Dr. Wu. They say, well, to you this is nothing new because obviously you don't understand what's going on behind things. To people who don't know much about statistics, it's almost like it's a magic, right? But there's no magic. It's just like a statistical package at back end, just running the stuff. Okay, so much about this cross tabulations, and I want you to just think about it. Why we do this cross tabulation? Okay, right. And then here's another example, right? Cross tabulation by the gender. If you look at the gender, right? And I want you to look at this slide and then just write down your own insights to see what do you see, based upon different locations here. To which of the following towns and cities would you consider going for hospitalization? And then we basically have three locations, three preferences, and then obviously we cross tabulate by gender. Right? Okay, so that's something we kind of. I want you to look at it, to understand this chart and draw some conclusions. So, I mean, there's the differences between male and female because obviously, then we'll understand why probably later on. Try to find a pattern. Now let's shift gear, talk about the data presentation or graphical representation of the nowadays because I think increasingly we're becoming more visual, visual, and rather than verbal and then we need both verbal and visual, and so it was kind of because of visual representation of data is getting really really important, especially like special management. The top management people, they don't have time to really kind of dwell on lots of data. Look at the read stuff. They want to see the pattern and visually, for example, and so we have all kinds of data, just charts or bar graphs to try to help us understand the relationships between variables. Like for example, this one is that by time, look at the cells, and obviously, and then they kind of cross tabulate by year, right? As you can see the pattern because they're similar in terms of the cells. And then what is the red like the line, you can see okay, sales goes up for the June, especially peak, and then it's good like a 2 years comparison. It has comparison. It's kind of cross tabulated by year. And other times we do pie charts. We look at the percentages. Okay, so this gives a sense of who has the biggest slice of the pie. So this is very important. Okay, so representation of the data, and then those charts actually can also be done, in Excel spreadsheet, which is very good. And then if you really want to see visual representation of data, there's a company called Tabloid. Okay, let's go to Tabloid. Let me see which we can go to the company called Tabloid. Tabloid. Okay. Google. Tableau. So this is a company very famous for its visual representation of the data. Okay, so this is a company tabloid. So this is like a public company, very interesting. They have tons of stuff to play with. I mean, so if you have some